The recent decision by the federal government to grant a presidential pardon to Maryam Sanda, a woman duly convicted of the cold-blooded murder of her husband, Bilyami Muhammad Bello, is not only this pardon undermines the very essence of the rule of law, disrespects the memory of the deceased, and reopens the emotional wounds of a family that has already endured unimaginable pain. In November 2017, Maryam Sanda was accused of killing her husband, Bilyami Bello, by stabbing him to death in their Abuja residence. The couple, married in 2015, had 2 young daughters, the youngest barely 3 months old at the time. The tragic incident began when Maryam reportedly discovered a nude photograph of another woman on her husband's phone, leading to a violent confrontation that ended with his untimely death. Following the murder, Maryam was arrested and arraigned alongside her mother, brother, and housekeeper. They were jointly charged with 2 counts of homicide and tampering with evidence, as investigations revealed that key pieces of evidence had been deliberately altered or destroyed. It is important to note that the deceased, Bilyami Bello, was the son of a former national chairman of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, a detail that underscores the gravity of the crime and its implications within Nigeria's social and political landscape. During the trial, Maryam claimed that her husband's death was accidental to her. After an argument broke out, her husband pushed her, causing her to fall onto a shisha pot, which broke. She alleged that a piece of the broken glass accidentally pierced his chest, leading to his death. However, the prosecution presented overwhelming evidence that contradicted this claim. 6 witnesses were called to testify. One of them, a close friend of the deceased, revealed that Maryam had threatened her husband multiple times on the day of the incident, including a chilling threat to cut off his genitals if he refused to grant her a divorce. The witness further testified that Maryam had made several attempts to attack her husband with various objects, including a knife and broken bottles. Other witnesses confirmed that the shisha pot Maryam claimed caused the fatal injury was still intact on the morning after the murder, an indication that her version of events was fabricated. Even more damning was the testimony of Hamza Abdullahi, the family's laundryman, who helped transport the victim to the hospital. Hamza stated that when he returned to the house, all the bloodstains had been meticulously cleaned. This was corroborated by ASP Simon Okon, the investigating officer, who testified that upon visiting the scene, he found broken bottles but no trace of blood, further proving that an attempt was made to destroy critical evidence. The court, after carefully reviewing the evidence, concluded that Maryam Sanda's family members had deliberately tampered with the crime scene and that the deceased died from multiple stab wounds, not an accidental injury as claimed. Delivering judgment on January 20, 2020, Honorable Justice Yusuf Halilu declared that the prosecution had proven its case beyond reasonable doubt. The judge stated unequivocally that Maryam fatally stabbed her husband to death in cold blood and described the act as wicked, heartless, and inhuman. He emphasized that justice must be served not only to the accused, but also to the deceased and to society as a whole, whose moral conscience depends on the impartial enforcement of the law. Maryam was convicted of murder and sentenced to death by hanging. Her subsequent appeal, which raised 20 separate grounds of challenge, was dismissed by the Court of Appeal in December 2020, which upheld the conviction and sentence in full. In a statement signed by Dr. Bello Muhammad, the family described the pardon approved by President Bola Tinubu as the worst possible injustice any family could experience. They said the decision to include Sanda among the 175 pardoned inmates had reopened emotional wounds that were just beginning to heal. The family recalled that Sanda was found guilty of premeditated murder by the Federal Capital Territory High Court, a verdict later upheld by the Court of Appeal and the Supreme Court. They said these rulings had given them a measure of closure, despite the convicted woman showing no remorse throughout the trial. They accused the government of undermining the judiciary and dehumanizing their late son, saying the pardon reduced Bilyamu to a mere statistic. And the decision to grant clemency to an individual convicted of murder has raised widespread public debate in Nigeria. While some view it as an act of compassion, consistent with the principles of rehabilitation and mercy, others see it as a move that could weaken confidence in the nation's justice system. Critics argue that extending such leniency in a case involving the taking of a life may send an unintended message that certain individuals can evade full accountability due to their social or political standing. They question whether the decision sufficiently upholds the rule of law and the value placed on human life. Supporters of the pardon, however, contend that every person deserves a chance at redemption and that family considerations, such as the well-being of the children, should not be overlooked. Yet questions remain about the broader moral and social implications. What example does such an act set for the next generation? How can reconciliation and closure be achieved for the victim's family? Ultimately, this development highlights the delicate balance between mercy and justice.